Hello, Northwest Arkansas, all points south, north, east, and west. We're here at 98.7 KDIV, and this is Elevated Dialogue with Evelyn Sakia Matthews and
Arthur Theodis Matthews.
there you go. That's my partner in crime. And you are also our partners in crime, and we love that. We love our audience because we love when you come back and tune in to listen to all the various topics that are going on around, not just in Arkansas, but around our country and around the world. So we like to also welcome in all our listeners that's around the world, especially in Central America. All right, let's say a special shout out to Panama and various other points of Puerto Rico and everyone. So listen, we want to continue because we just started briefly at our last session talking about something that's quite relevant and it's been around for a long time. But before we begin, we're going to just do a little review. But we're on sexual harassment. So yes, today's session is going to continue that topic because what we did the last time, we just really began the definition for sexual harassment. So we want to get into some more specifics today to help us all out to be able to recognize it, to understand it, to know the different forms that it comes in. Because some of us have a lot of different interpretations on whether it's sexual harassment or not, or what type it is. And some of us sometimes, what we hear all the time when we're training individuals, and we train individuals all around the country, regarding this particular topic with, organizations, universities, profit, not-for-profit, the list goes on and on, federal, state, city, governments, and things of that nature. But the thing we want individuals to understand, because it always comes out, oh, we just can't say anything about anyone no more. We can't even give people compliments. So we're definitely going to talk about the compliment part because we can say, you look lovely. That's a good compliment.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
There you go. There's nothing wrong with that. But we're going to show you when there's something wrong with that a little later, not right now. But before we begin, we just want to review the definition that we started out with, and Arthur's going to take us along with that, and then talk more specifically about the federal aspect of it.
Okay, and Emma Sakia, thank you so much. What we want to do is be clear about this very important topic. Number one, sexual harassment is a form of discrimination. We're not here giving you legal advice, we're giving you education and knowledge. We strongly encourage you and recommend that you consult with an attorney because sexual harassment is a form of discrimination. So the bottom line is there are federal, state, local laws, municipal laws, policies and procedures. Many organizations have a proactive stance about this very important issue. I will say this, as Evelyn mentioned and articulated, it's been around a very long time. It's caused a lot of people harm. It's had an adverse impact on individuals, on families, on organizations, and most importantly, on the overall human condition. And it also has had a huge impact on the impact it has on organizations from a liability standpoint. So one of the most important parts of the definition is that there are two types of sexual harassment. And one of the types is quid pro quo. You do something for me, I do something for you, putting pressure on individuals to submit to advances that are being made. The other type is the hostile, intimidating, and offensive work environment type of harassment. Both of those are addressed on the federal level, and those are also addressed on the state and local level. And one of the most important parts of this conversation is that the intended, if you will, recipient of the sexual harassment is called the victim. Okay. And one of the most important things that we try to advocate when we work with clients, and we want to include also the organizations Evelyn mentioned, but also our labor union clients that we work with as well as organizations that are community-based. Everybody that has at least 15 employees are usually covered under these federal laws. So it's important for us to understand the dynamics, the nuances, and three words should come to mind: prevention, recognition, and correction.
Very good. And also, with this topic that, as Arthur stated, and we've been stating, the different topics that we have been discussing are all very important to us as we go to work, as we exist and live and breathe, no matter what you're doing in life. And we also believe that this conversation that we have on Elevated Dialogue is for adults, it's for our teenagers, it's for our children. It's for everyone. No one's excluded in any of our topics. But today on sexual harassment, we really want to emphasize the fact that this can happen to anyone, regardless of your age, no matter how old, no matter how young, no matter what's in between, no matter your color, race, ethnicity, your religious thinking or values or whatever it is.
Right.
This covers everyone, and we really need to understand that. But what we want to do is we're going to start off with a few organizations so that you can understand how wide-ranging this is across our field here in the United States.
Right.
So we're specifically, this is United States that we're concentrating on here for you to understand. Everyone needs to be aware about this. And those of you that might feel this is a woman's issue, it is not just a woman's issue.
Right.
This happens to men. This happens to boys. This happens to girls. Remember, this is not based on gender, okay?
Right.
This is not based on any of these other things that we have discussed. So this can be transgender. This can be, it doesn't make a difference. Different people engage in this practice for various reasons.
Right.
This is why all the individuals that this happens to are victims.
Right.
Okay, and many times you have nothing to do with why someone's coming after you. And this is an issue too. We're going to discuss these things. Again, this might also, for those of you that have been affected by this, directly or indirectly. Because sometimes we could be in an environment, you see it's being done, and we say nothing. Sometimes we don't know what to say. We don't know what to do. Sometimes we say we don't want that to turn on to me for what's happening over there. Maybe if I just put my blinders on and ignore this thing, it will go away.
And in addition to that, as Evelyn's talking, I'm thinking about that maybe some of our listeners are saying, it's never happened to me. It will never happen to me. I won't allow it to happen to me. This is what we want you to think about. If you have a son, a daughter, a mother, a father, a niece, a nephew, that it possibly can happen to, this is an important conversation.
So again, this is, no one's excluded.
Right.
And so when we wanted to start with some examples of organizations or a place of work or whatever that this took place in, so that you can understand the diverse ranges or places that this can occur and the people that it affects. And here's the thing too. You might be listening and know someone that this has happened to. It might be you. Maybe you don't. But the thing is this. If this has happened to you and as you're listening, and it might be taking you back to that incident that occurred. And maybe when it occurred, you never seeked out assistance, help, counseling, therapy, conversation. You know, go into a group to discuss this. Or maybe you never, when you occurred at work, you didn't go to your EAP, maybe to human resources, whatever's available at your job, your manager, whatever. Talk to a family member. You did those things.
Could have been the perpetuator.
Yeah, we're going to go there.
And, you know, that's always painful to really think about. And here's the other thing. I want to just say this, Evelyn Sakia. A lot of times, if we see it happening, but it's not happening to us in the workplace, we need to be allies. And if you see something, say something. Because if an individual is creating a hostile environment, you could be the next victim. You may not be now, but you could be the next victim.
You sure could.
Of this perpetuator's actions. Now, I'm thinking before we go into what's trending, that we kind of give a quick framework for when it started, the awareness level started to happen. You think we should go back to the early 1990s?
Definitely, but before we do that, Joe, so individuals, for people who, because sometimes when you talk about different topics, our mind has a way of assisting us when something has been dreadful that has happened to us. Some behavior that took place, our mind has the ability to store it in the rear so that you're not confronted with that every day, because if we were, we would not be able to get out of our homes or our apartments or wherever we're living. We would be dysfunctional. So our mind helps us out on many occasions to block it out. However, there are a few occasions that your mind's going to bring that file back up, bring it right to the front for you to know it's happening again,
Right.
or been there, did that. What can you do differently? So here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
In this conversation today, you feel that, oh, here it is. The thing again, we just want to emphasize, we want you to seek some help.
Right.
We need to understand that when things affect us
Mm-hmm.
deeply, harm us in any kind of way, it could be a physical thing,
Right.
it could be mental, it could be emotional, it could be spiritual, it could be psychological. There's many effects from when behavior is unjusting to us.
Right.
Okay? And for those that perhaps engaged in this behavior, we're hoping that you're going to recognize yourself.
Right.
And do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Make that correction that we all need to make in life. We need to make a connection, a correction, and know we need to not go down that path any longer. If there's some apologies that need to be given, then you need to do so.
Right.
And sometimes we just can't walk up to a person and just drop that on them. Sometimes you need to have a safe environment with someone else there to assist you with just maybe some type of mediation, a counseling session to assist them.
Right.
So before we go back and give you the history of when this came to light here in America,
Right.
we are going to take a moment and take a break. So we want you to settle in, get comfortable, understand some things might be revving up in your belly, in your mindset, in other places in your body, and understand that it's okay. So get that cup of chamomile or peppermint tea, relax, make that phone call to somebody else that you need to have on the other end and say, child, you need to listen to this. Call up your people on that break.
Yeah.
You tune back in to KDIV 98.7 here on Elevated Dialogue. We'll be right with you to discuss how this and when this all came to light. See you in a moment. Okay, now are you all set in and ready to get going and got all your people, the family, friends, co-workers, you dialed them all up, you have them listening in, and we're going to be doing this because it's a very important topic and it's a serious topic and it affects so many of us. Okay, so it's wonderful that we got the Me Too movement going on, but now we want to have Arthur, we want to get a little bit of when it really was the first time that it just came over America to really look at this.
Yeah, and as we know, sexual harassment, sexual assault has been around hundreds of years. There have been groups of individuals who have been unfortunately victimized by this heinous and egregious behavior. I would say it was the early 1990s when and this is a matter of public record, folks, you can look it up. Those of you that are millennials, Gen Ys, you wouldn't know this because it was before your time, but this is significant from a historical standpoint. 1991, Clarence Thomas, Anita Hill. Clarence Thomas was being vetted to become a Supreme Court Justice. Anita Hill was a former employee of his at two different agencies, and she accused him of sexual harassment. This unfolded across America in our living rooms. It was on every major network. It was in the tabloids. So for 3 or 4 riveting days, this issue of sexual harassment came to the forefront. And what Evelyn and I often say is that after those hearings, the awareness level of sexual harassment increased and multiplied exponentially. In fact, the number of charges of sexual harassment tripled right after the hearings. Now, here's something that may be indirectly related to this. In 1991, there were 2 U.S. senators who were women out of the 100 U.S. senators. After the 1991 hearings and part of the galvanizing of this issue, there were 4 women who ran for the U.S. Senate, and they each won their elections. Dianne Feinstein and Barbara Boxer, both from the state of California, Patty Murray from the state of Washington, and Carol Moseley Braun from the state of Illinois. And a lot of folks have said indirectly they feel that the galvanization of this issue and making sure that women were now empowered to say something, whereas before they may have been marginalized, or they'd go to their male supervisor. The male supervisor would say, hey, it's just a rites of passage, look the other way. So we always kind of talk about And let's just be really clear, it's been around for hundreds of years. It's been around in our workplaces for hundreds of years. And in terms of the awareness level, I would say it was during this period of time. that the
Because
issue
also
really
with
became-
that, when they had it on the television, what kept you glued to the television was the fact
Right.
that they talked about everything.
They did.
It was very descriptive, and everyone, remember, anytime we do training, we talk about that cocaine. And boy, that was so instrumental in
Mhm.
all of this and that piece of hair. So if you ever want to, maybe on YouTube or go back and just review, they will give you highlights. And it's just something
Mhm.
to the description, they're very descriptive in terms of sexually, the behavior, the how often, how long, his position, her position.
Yeah.
It was direct, and it
Mhm.
was the first time on TV that you heard all these words being
Right.
used and people actually placing it out there. And what also happened after all of that? Men and women, and especially women, said, so that's what I've been going through?
Right.
That's is what I've been subjected to?
Right.
I've been sexually harassed? And men too, I didn't know that. Because again, this is not something that is just a female thing. This is an everyone thing,
Right.
which we're going to get into.
Sure.
So that was very important. That held us and gripped us every day to turn on that hearing and to listen to what this whole thing was about. This
Right.
confirmation for the future Supreme Court
Right.
justice.
And here it is, some years later, and folks still are disturbed by the fact that the Senate Judiciary Committee was made up of all men,
Mm,
and he was still confirmed,
yes.
despite his actions.
Yes.
Okay, so
Okay.
this is a big issue,
Yes, it
one
is.
which we're going to talk about. In fact, Evelyn's going to get us started. You know, this body of work around sexual harassment is so pervasive that we have a few examples. And
You
again,
wanna start first?
yeah, and let's get
It was
started.
okay with that
Yeah,
one.
there's a few cases we want to talk about
Yes, we
that
do.
have been trending in the news, particularly over the last couple of years. We
Mhm.
want to talk about a few of them. And we're not going to mention any names of individuals, but we'll mention the names of the organizations because it's a matter of public record. And again, you can look at them. First one we're going to start with is Fox. Most of you know Fox. You know that it's a major player in the space of communications and broadcasting, etc. Well, there was a very senior executive along with the CEO who were accused of sexual harassment behavior. Combination of the two types we talked about, quid pro quo,
Which we're gonna give you more details about in a moment.
absolutely, as well as the hostile environment. In that particular situation with Fox, most of the victims decided that they were going to settle out of court
Mhm.
through non-disclosure agreements and settle their claims because
Now
they wanted to continue
There we go.
their careers, you know, and they wanted to just move on. And one thing I think Evelyn will talk about later on, and we do this through the EEOC, which has been honorably a client of ours, we're very humbled by that. In a lot of instances with the victims of sexual harassment, they just want the behavior to stop. They wanted to cease and desist. They don't want to be the, if you will, victim anymore. They just want the behavior to stop. So in that particular instance, we talked about Fox, and again, millions and millions of dollars we know was paid out. We don't know the exact amount because those are usually confidential negotiated agreements. There were a lot of lawyers in the room and they were able to settle those cases. And again, those women who were a part of that, young journalists, just wanted to move on with their careers.
Okay.
All right, do
Okay,
you want to
that's
talk
good. So
about?
we'll talk about, we'll talk about one. And I'm gonna talk about one that's not too, next state over.
Mhm.
And this is a place with Chipotle. So how many of us go to Chipotle? Again, we're using a variety of places that people work, people go to eat, to do a variety of things, to watch the television and things of that nature. So you can get an understand of just how widespread it is.
Right.
So Chipotle, and many people go to Chipotle to eat,
Mhm.
but this one was in Texas, okay? And how many of us, you remember your first job? Your first job as a teenager,
Sure.
okay? And how many of you have teenagers right now? So remember we told you about this show and all our shows. You gotta have your teenagers in there to listen because it helps them out. And the thing with us with teenagers too, we do work with young people. Like we've worked with Cornell and on projects like with BOCES and things of that nature, which is schools, technical schools or high schools.
K through 12.
And also for teenagers, okay, that'll do technical issues classes. So we do work with teenagers to assist them. Remember, we work on that project to help them be aware of when they start their first job, the do's and the don'ts of their behavior, as well as those that they work for, as well as their co-workers.
Right.
So this Chipotle is in direct relation with that. So those of you that have teenagers, those of you that have nieces and nephews and cousins, or maybe your neighbor or your own child. This child, young girl, was 16 years old, wanted to assist her family with, money, income, but she also just, again, want to get that first job. So you go to get that first job, and you want that to go well. So she starts her job, and she's at Chipotle, and she's working and things of that nature. And then her job that she's happy to go to begins to be a hostile work environment. So what is that? Just to give you a brief thing about that, just to help you out. Her supervisor, her direct supervisor, begins to comment on her attire, her body. You know how that goes. How it's looking today. How things are fitting today. Just in all the right places and things of that nature. So he goes on with this for a little bit, and then we start that other area that I often discuss, that quid pro quo. So what exactly is that? We're going to be more in detail about it, but because it's a part of this situation, we'll give you a little bit about that. Again, it's what this is about is that, hey, this is normally your boss, your direct boss or any other boss, but they're in a position of authority over your income, whether you will continue to work there. They have total power over you in those parameters in terms of employment. So he moves from hostile, commenting, to the quid pro quo, meaning you're going to do this for me, give me this, and I'll keep you working, or I'll increase your income. So with her, keep her working, and she needed her money, she needed to work. So now he starts the direct intrusion on her person. And they have this relationship. And I don't even want to call it a relationship because this is not a relationship. The child was 16 years old. This was against her will. Okay, so they go on with this for a while. They're having sexual relations at the dumpster, in various places, at the workplace. And the thing about this is the manager knew about it. The manager of that supervisor and of her, and the workers there, supervisor, manager, hey, know all about this. Supervisor's engaging with this child on this. And you know how it goes. So parents, aunts, uncles, understand this. Sometimes people and children don't come and tell you what's going on for many reasons, and one can be shame and fear. We're going to continue this though, because there's a lot more to it when we come back from our next break. So yeah, you think about that. Shame, fear, and some other hostilities and things why people don't tell. But we can't blame the victim. What we can do is take this break, refresh yourself, count to 3, 5 to 10, because I know we're heated already. We haven't gone anywhere yet, too far. Come back to KDIV 98.7, Elevated Dialogue. Evelyn, Zakia.
Arthur Theodis.
There you go, and see you in a moment. Okay, we are back. Hope that was good. You got your another cup so that you can relax. Now, during this session, you might want to just understand again, because we are talking right now about real things that have happened. We started off that way, about telling you how this all came about. So we're going to get back to Chipotle, and we'll talk about the young teenager that's working, and now she's in the situation. It's a situation. I know. I just have a thing with the relationship part, because the relationship is totally different for me, and I think for the rest of you too. So I don't call that a relationship. You're 16 and someone's coercing you to do something that's not what you want. This is the quid pro quo. So she's in that situation, a forced situation, because she wants to keep her job, and they're doing this thing all over the place. The manager's in bed with this too, but she's not going with him, but he knows about this. So,
right.
So this thing goes on. and she's just trying to work through this. And again, we don't want to blame the victim. And sometimes people like to do that, and parents would get upset, or why didn't that child tell us, or did you not come to me? And sometimes it's shame or fear or pride, or I just can't say these words. I don't want to let you down. So again, anyone that perhaps this happens in your life,
Right.
and you're wondering, why did my sister or my brother or my husband or my lover or my whatever did not tell me? There's reasons why. Okay,
They might be embarrassed too.
and you have all of this going on. So let's not put no more weight on the individual that's involved in this, the victim. Do not give them all. Let's just give them the help that they need. First, we're going to seek out where they need to go. Also, we're going to go to that workplace and see what's happening. So with the child here, she decides after a year, she can't take this no more. And she tells her mom.
Right.
So her mom reports this. And now they're going to get the prosecution going and things of nature like that. We're shortening this a little bit. But anyway, the whole point is this. The manager gets fired. And the supervisor that did the crime, he runs away. He hightails it to Mexico. He's still looking for the man to this day to bring him back so that they can prosecute him. Okay. And the girl is awarded $7 million by a jury to assist her with her life, to get the counseling that she's so going to need.
Right.
And that's the thing again, folks. We can't stress enough. There's things in life that happens to us.
Right.
And we're going to need some outside intervention. There is nothing wrong with outside intervention, people.
Right.
Sometimes you're going to start with mommy, daddy, sister, brother, friend, whoever, auntie, uncle, whoever you need to talk to, please go and do that. Then they can go with you if that's what you desire, to seek some help. Okay, because we might need some more. And sometimes this goes on a long time.
Right.
And to say to some women, men too, young people, sometimes these things again goes into the back of your mind, and it settles in there because your mind is going to be able to help you weather the storm.
Right.
But sometimes when you get into a relationship and you get intimate with the person that you love or you're involved with, then this comes up for you, and it becomes a barrier between you and your individual, or your shame, the doubts, the tears that you never released before, all those things come out. And again, go take care of this.
Right.
And handle this. But also, when we have done training, it always happens, and it always comes up that
Right.
you're in the bathroom and you have someone out there want to talk to you through a stall and say to you, this has happened to me, or they meet you in the hallway and have that conversation. During lunch, they have that conversation and say, that happened to me. Or some people outright in class, let it out, let it out. People cry because it just comes up. So I'm giving you this emotional plea or understanding that I'm asking from everyone.
Right.
To understand that when these things, not just the sexual harassment, but other assaults and things that happen to people in
Right.
life, that things have not been proper, it can come up like a volcano, erupt on people at any time. And all we need to do is to be open.
Right.
And be there. Listen. If they just need you to listen, listen. If they need you to hold their hand, hold their hand. If they need that hug, hug them. If they need to go somewhere, dial that number for them and walk with them there.
Right.
So getting back to her, she gets awarded the $7 million to help her with her counseling, because she's going to need lots of it.
Well, and also the liability associated from a civil standpoint against Chipotle, because the manager should have done something and he condoned and enabled the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important for everybody to know, that a jury in Houston, Texas awarded her over $7 million.
Right. And she worked on herself, got her counseling, still probably going through it, we don't know. And now she's in college. She's in college, elevating herself.
Right.
And that's the thing for what just want you to understand from this. You can get through this. You can get through this. This does not have to be that you identify with your entire life.
Right.
to hold you down, to make you be a recluse, to harbor this dark cloud over you, to have you sometimes with some people, sometimes as women specifically have told me, a couple guys, that this is why they made the selections of loved ones or people to go with or to have relationships with, done other behaviors
Right.
when it comes to things. And to be blunt, this is how sometimes people get into prostitution or get into other sexual acts or get into relationships that's abusive,
Right.
men and women, very abusive. And this is also one of the reasons too that people do drugs, engage in that behavior, or drink a lot.
Mhm.
So all of these things, again, we told you from the very beginning, it's going to be explicit,
Right.
meaning understand the depth of depravity that people have experienced,
Right.
but you can come out of this and you don't have to do this by yourself. But when you notice your loved one who always was talkative, happy-go-lucky, conversational, and that doesn't happen no more.
Right.
You have to have a conversation with them. What's going on, baby? Are you okay? And they don't want to go nowhere no more. Or you have someone that was quiet. They were quiet people who just like to read books, maybe watch movies, or whatever. Quiet, not talkative too much. Introverts. Whereas the other one's an extrovert.
Right.
They're introverts, and all of a sudden, they turn into an extrovert. Big time. Going out there wearing just a different type of clothing, doing different types of makeup, loud and just out there.
Right.
You gotta notice this too. Now, sometimes we just transition to these things as we get older. We go through the different stages, being 14, 15, 16, 17. That's fine. But then you have to understand from the psychological point, emotional and sociological and everything of that nature. Sometimes these changes is not because they really want to get there. It's because they're going through their mind of this behavior that happened to them. Why? And then when people are also being aggressive and being harassing, and this is sexual harassment and things of this nature with another human being, assaulting and things of that nature, they also say things to individuals.
They do.
You wanted me to do it. You wanted that. It's the clothes that you wear. I'm going to get into that in a moment about the clothing that you're wearing. And they say these things to you. And then sometimes when these actions take place, you actually take this all in and begin to believe it, and therefore you want to walk that part. So again, notice your loved ones.
Right.
If they begin to change, the conversation change, their voice change, the language that they use change, their outwardness change,
Right.
they're dyeing their hair all kinds of colors. Now again, some people are going to do that anyway because we do those things. But if this is really not them and other things are changing in life, just take a look and talk to them.
Right.
Have a conversation and see what happens. So that's what happened with your Chipotle. They're still trying to locate the supervisor to bring him back for the charges and things of that nature so he can stand and go to court for this and be charged. So that's Chipotle. And now Arthur's going to give us another one. Again, we're going to continue with a couple of more so you can understand just this is everywhere.
Right.
And we as people need to help one another through and know what our rights are, to know when it's happening so we can make it stop.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So AIG, many of you know, you see the commercials on television, insurance, well-known brand both nationally and globally, had a very successful insurance underwriter, a woman who was doing extraordinarily well. She was up for promotions, commendations, moved to a different department, and she started to talk to some of her colleagues who were women as well. They started to tell her about all these different transgressions that men would engage in, to the extent of looking under the desks of women's dresses. And the woman who was, if you think about this, change initiator, because she heard about this behavior, she decided to do something about it. In fact, she documented over 140 pages. And this is one thing that we'll talk about a little bit more when we take our next break, is what you can do to document date, time, place, corroborating witnesses, time of day, those kinds of issues that are really important to this topic. And that's still being, if you will, processed through the legal proceedings. But AIG is dealing with this issue right now in a significant way. And of course, the fact that this woman exercised due diligence by having all of the information that she acquired and she had opportunity to substantiate and corroborate everything that was being said and everything that was being witnessed and observed was important to making her case strong.
Mm-hmm. And that's important. So as Arthur stated, they're talking about how you need to make sure you go about that, because that's very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
What's about another?
So I think we're going to take a break.
Is it time or we're gonna?
It is.
Okay,
KDIV 98.7. This is Elevated Dialogue, and this is Transformational Thursdays. That's Evelyn Sakia. I'm Martha Theotis. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Yeah. Hello and welcome back to Transformational Thursdays. Thank you, sweet. Yeah. We are transforming. And if we continue to transform ourselves, we can transform our families. We can transform our neighbors, transform the children in our lives and the adults in our lives. You're never too old to transform. And we need to remember that, because if we continue as people of the United States and around the world to always transform into a higher elevation, then we will transform this planet. Right now, we want to transform the United States. And we're going to transform ourselves, because it starts with us. And we're going to continue to transform us so that we can assist those that need assisting.
Right.
Okay, fix your house before we work on someone else's house, okay, folks?
Mm-hmm.
And let's not be critical on this issue. So we have another organization that we're going to talk about again, reminding you this happens everywhere.
Right.
So just because we didn't mention your organization, we don't have all that time. We would need at least 3 weeks to do this, to talk about all the various organizations, and we're not going to do that. We just want you to have an understanding. So the next organization we're going to discuss is the National State Parks. Yeah. How many of us have gone to a national park?
Right.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
But why do we go? For the beauty?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Outdoors, good air,
fun,
lot
family
of real estate,
activity,
family activities,
team building,
boating, canoeing.
Yes, look at
fishing.
all the beautiful animals, the trees, the rotundas, and just things that have been around for a very long time. And we're there to survey it, to be a part of nature.
That's right.
Yeah, okay, so now that we got all of that out of the way, the National State Park wanted to
National
hire
Park Service.
National Park Service.
Right. Okay.
We
want to
know.
Okay.
It's there you go, we got it. National Park Services. And the thing is this, because I'm so much into my going to the park, we got to get the right time.
Well, and different states have national parks.
There you go. Different states got it, and that's why I'm all into thinking about all the different ones, just and everything. But anyway, so the National Park Service needed some new blood. Because, people retire. So anyway, they went on this campaign to hire some new people and to come in and want to get more women and things of that nature and different generations.
Mm-hmm.
So they got their nice crew comes on, a lot of women, a lot of young women, men too, everybody. And here's the thing. We know why we all go to the park, and we know about the acreage that exists with all of these national parks, okay? They're just thousands and thousands of acres. Things are spread out all over the place. So the thing about, let's make a long story short again, this is very important that you know it happens everywhere.
Right.
So here's the thing. In these national parks, the rangers have a little cabin that you stay in. Just one room, little thing. That's where you stay, because that's you're monitoring that little area.
Right.
And it's a large area too.
Another personnel as well.
Yeah, there.
It wasn't just the rangers, right?
No.
Good.
The park, you're working in the park.
Right.
You got the little cabin.
Mm-hmm.
So, but here's the thing. So you're in there by yourself, whatever day, doesn't matter, morning, noon, night, doesn't matter. Happens at the door. So, open the door up. It's the person you work with, supervisor. Supervisor steps in. You have this conversation. So we won't give you how the conversation went, because, hey, Saul came out in court. So anyway, investigation. Hey, move on in. You know how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Want a little bit of this, you give me a little of this. Let's do this. I don't think so. But keep rolling in on a person, getting closer and closer. The person starts screaming. You can scream, but nobody's going to hear you. I'll let that simmer for you.
Right.
Go ahead and get your scream on. Nobody's gonna hear you, nobody's coming to your aid.
Right.
Well, this went on for a little bit.
And it was during the investigation, and they did a survey, remember?
I'm gonna go talk
And
about that.
40%
How
of
you
the
infringing
women.
on my thing here?
Well, listen, it's
I'm
shared
going
real
in, my
estate.
brother. Ain't no sharing anything.
It's shared
I'm going
real
up in
estate.
there to talk about them just a little bit and say, yeah, that's true. And yeah, doing the investigation, they found that 40% of the employees have been harassed. This has happened to various individuals that have been working there.
Right.
Yeah, we know.
And the supervisors would
Mhm.
say, across the board,
Mhm.
that you can scream as loud as you want. Well, the supervisors.
Yeah,
would say
that's who's
to
coming
each
through
other.
Coming through the door, giving you the madness.
Right. Across the board. They would
Yeah.
say, you can scream as loud as you want, nobody's going to hear you.
Yes,
Right.
definitely, folks. So this went on. People got fired. Still going on. Still researching. Still investigating. Still getting everything done. Because it's a lot. I know. You'll never think about the park the same way again. But you know what? Don't let it stop you from going. Because the thing about this, with all the different organizations that we're discussing, you're still going to go to Chipotle's and get whatever it is that you eat there. That doesn't mean they're doing it at that particular one that you're servicing. But the thing about it, we're going to talk about it in a moment,
Right.
how you're going to recognize these types of things.
Mhm.
Because it's not trying to turn you off
Right.
from doing things with different organizations, but for you to be aware. That's what this is all about, for you
Right.
to be aware
Mhm.
of what goes down. In case you are in it or someone you know is in it, come to talk to you, hey, you can help them out. That's what's so important about all of this. You know, we want to really go there with that. So that is still being vetted and everything else with that. And we're going to talk about just one more.
Okay, and
If
just
you
to
want.
finish up with the National Park Service,
Yeah.
many of you don't know, it's part of the U.S. Department of Interior, and National Park Service, a federal agency under Department of Interior, and the federal government is losing about 40% of their workforce over the next couple of years. We had mentioned in another segment that there are 80 million baby boomers, and every day for the next 20 years, 10,000 baby boomers can retire. Well, the National Park Service was not exempt from this. They were losing significant amounts of their leadership as well as their rank and file and middle management folks, and that's why they did this very aggressive hiring campaign. The other thing I want to say about this that we often talk about is that the Inspector General of the National Park Service did a study and did an investigation and found that it was systemic and institutional discrimination based on sexual harassment at the organization. So as everyone said, they're still dealing with this right now. Last one we want to talk about is Uber. Take your pick. We hear about Uber. Many of us take Uber, Lyft, these other competitors. And again, matter of public record, we're not giving legal advice, we're giving education and knowledge. With the Uber situation, of course, we've heard stories about drivers creating a hostile environment in their vehicles. That's number one. And of course, the new CEO is trying to address that. The other issue that really came to the forefront that resulted in 20 individuals being terminated or discharged was in headquarters, where you had this engineer who was hired. She was recruited, highly credentialed. First couple of weeks on the job, her manager supervisor approached her and said to her, you know what, I'm in a very open relationship and I'd be interested, and so would my wife, in a menage a trois with you. She could not believe it. She wrote a very famous blog that became a matter of public record that a lot of folks have read. And as it turns out, they found that it was also a systemic institutional environment that was toxic at headquarters in California. And as a result of the terminations and the discharge, Uber decided to hire former Attorney General Eric Holder, whose firm conducted the investigation. So Uber, as you have seen in a lot of the mass media campaigns and multimedia campaigns, they're trying to turn the corner and try to create, if you will, a better image for the organization.
So they're trying to rebuild.
They are.
And sometimes with different employees, they just do a variety of things. Like another thing the gentleman did would tape everything going on inside of his vehicle, would tape everybody's conversation, behaviors, and all types of things. So different things continue to happen in a variety of organizations. And it's just a matter of these things coming to light and for people to talk about them and to come forward. So these things are very important for us to make sure that we bring attention, because things can't change unless people know about it.
Right.
The organization needs to know about it.
Sure.
You need to tell.
Right.
And if you can't do it yourself, you could just tell it to someone else.
Mhm.
And you're going to go together. Take your friend, take your coworker to HR, to a manager if it's not the manager that is doing this, or to your supervisor, to another employee. But go and do something. And then you also have outside organizations that you can also go to for mediation, things of this nature, to assist you
Mhm.
when you're going through this process, okay? Because
Right.
again, many people just want the behavior to stop. That's what you want. You want it to
Right.
stop, and the people that are doing this to know that this is incorrect. And again, we're not going to say that everyone that's engaging in this do not know that they're engaging in a process that's incorrect, because you have to know you're forcing yourself on someone.
Right.
There's something wrong with that, okay? So,
Sure. Before we go to a break, Evelyn, a lot of our listeners, I'm sure, and the folks that are watching us now on different platforms and social media, sometimes they feel there's a gray area. Could you give an example of what sexually harassing behavior would be based on something you say to me, as opposed to the touching?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think that the physical touching is what constitutes sexual harassment. However, as we do our training, we tell folks it doesn't have to be any offensive touching at all. It could just be in the things that you say, the things that you articulate that come out of your mouth.
Right. So it's simple, and this also helps with the thing that we said earlier, that people be talking about compliments and things of that nature. So, oh, I love the purple. You look good in purple.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You know, purple is for kings and queens, so that's a sign of royalty. And I do also enjoy the way that it's fitting you in all the right places. It's just really just turning me on in such a fabulous way. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, that's just gripping all the biceps and everything else. It's just so fabulous. I just love that. So as we let you roll with that for just a moment, we'll be back on Transformational Thursdays. Yeah, I know. Go have that cold water with some ice all in it, and we'll be right back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. How was that break? Okay, I know you had to have that ice with that ice, and the ice with mostly ice with a little bit of water, because that can cool you down after that compliment that was given across the table over here. I know. People be thinking that we can't give a compliment.
Totally
So
inappropriate,
Mm,
Mrs. Matthews.
there you go. So we're going to talk about that in a moment. But before we do, I just want to remind you how to get in touch with us, how to watch us on KDIV 98.7, the voice of diversity. So one thing is that you can do KDIVFM@gmail.com. How about those Twitter users? So we got Twitter at KDIV on 98.7. Instagram, folks. Instagram at KDIV 987. Yes, indeed. And then those who like to Snapchat at KDIV 987. YouTube at KDIV 987. And let's not forget our Facebook, folks. You know how you are. You're all over that. Voice of Diversity / KDIV. So I believe we got everybody with the hookup to make sure that you can always view us and the rest of our programming here at KDIV 98.7, Voice of Diversity. But we're right now at Transformational Thursdays with Elevated Dialogue, and we're going to discuss that compliment that was given. It was just a compliment.
Oh, no, it wasn't.
Oh, well,
Well, it started out fine, but then you started talking about how things were hugging. First of all, those days are over. I don't do a whole bunch of hugging right now. Well, but I still look okay, and I clean up pretty nicely. But I was
say
offended.
you clean up real good.
Well,
So it's those things that we're talking about, and individuals like to sometimes, you know how it is in a workspace. Ooh, no, you don't. And when we're talking to someone, we want to make sure neck up. How you doing today? None of that. Keep that tongue in your mouth. Don't be having those eyes rolling up and down the person's entire body.
call that elevated eyes, don't we?
I say neck up. But then again, we got those individuals that sometimes might be into feet and shoes. They look at them shoes coming across, look at the feet. You know, different people do a variety of things, but people that say, no. That's a part of this class that we're doing today. This is like a workshop, folks. Get it and understand. Be correct with your compliment. A compliment is a simple compliment. You look good in purple. That's it.
Thank you.
You can get that part about, purple is the color for royalty. But when you start saying purple is the color of royalty, and boy, does that look delicious on you.
Shots
Hugging
fired, man.
all over. Things are hugging the right places. And they do that for women too. Yes or no?
They do.
See, you could look at someone and remember with the girl at Chipotle. There you go. They start with the hostile behavior by saying things of, oh, that blouse is beautiful on you, and I love the material that it's made out of, and it is just hugging that upper part of you and just ooh, no. That's not what a compliment's all about.
Right.
That's what makes that harassing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes it sexually harassing. So while we're on there, let's talk about unwelcome behavior.
Right.
Okay, sexual advances that are unwelcome, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature.
Right.
Such behavior or remarks are offensive or objectionable to the recipient. It's objectionable to the recipient. So what you need to take from this definition, what's the one word if you don't remember nothing else?
Objectionable.
How about unwelcome? Let's start at the very
Unwelcome
beginning. Yes, you object to it. If you're objecting to it,
Right.
be vocal and tell the person, I need you to stop. Okay, granted, some people don't know how to do that, or they can't do it, or they feel that they're in a position that they can't tell the manager, I'm not liking that, or the supervisor, look, I need my job. We're going to get to that conversation in just one moment.
Right.
But all you need to remember, folks, it's unwelcome. You're not welcoming it. It's objectionable. So those folks who's engaging in that behavior, you need to also be able to look at someone with the nonverbals. Those nonverbals. I don't have to verbalize it. Sometimes people are stuck. When they're like that deer in headlight look.
Right.
What's the deer in headlight? They're stuck like. Any of that? How about losing color? People go colorless, white, cheeks red, berry color, blushing like, they're offended, stepping back from you.
Or sweating.
Yes. People don't know what to do. They're like, okay, you're talking to them, they're drinking that water, or they're stepping back from you. When people begin to step back from you, there's something going on there. You need to be mindful of that. Because those are the nonverbals that we need to look at. Because sometimes, again, people are not always vocal. They'll say, you didn't say anything. I'm saying it with my face. I'm saying it with my body positioning. I'm saying it trying to back away from you. And sometimes people get stuck when they see you coming and running in another direction.
Absolutely.
They're on the elevator, they're pushing that button, hoping that the elevator door closes. Or when they come up to the elevator and you're inside, I started to die today. I'm exercising. I'm going to take the stairs. So co-workers, fellow employees, people notice this. What's going on with so-and-so who has changed, and they run out the room when they see so-and-so comes in. These are all signs that we need to be mindful of, okay? Another thing is, let's talk about criminal code.
Sure. So we talked a little bit earlier about it, and basically what it means. It's a Latin term. If you do something for me, I'll do something for you. And usually it's based on power. And we talked about it in some of the cases that we articulated. And it simply is a situation where I will help you. We need to discuss, your promotion, your performance review over dinner, and breakfast tomorrow morning.
So he described it to you, but some of you don't get those things. So we're going to do it another way, just to make sure that you understand this. Hi, Arthur. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I've been noticing your work, and it's just been absolutely stellar.
Well, thank you.
And you know what? There's a position that's available for you. And I think you will be the perfect person for this promotion.
Okay.
And why don't we get together for dinner? What type of food do you like?
I like Italian food.
Italian. There's a nice Italian restaurant that's right down the street. We can get together right after work at like 6.
Well, I have rugby practice today with my friend Brody, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to attend. It's really important to me to try to stay fit.
Well, that's nice. You know what? How about if you bring Brody with you?
Okay, well, I'm not sure what Brody's doing, you know,
Okay, well, I'm just
I mean,
saying.
he's pretty committed about
Oh,
going to
he
practice,
is?
yeah, and he's
Okay.
run half marathons and, you know, he's kind of a fit guy.
Okay, he could be a fit guy. I like a fit guy. You kind of fit too. That's fine. You both can come.
Well, I thought we were just talking about dinner.
We are talking about dinner. We gotta eat first, because you know nourishment is very important.
Okay, what's the name of the restaurant?
Wafino's.
Okay, Rafino.
Yeah, excellent restaurant. You can look up the reviews. So how
Okay.
about 6 o'clock?
Oh, well, let me just check to see if I can get out of practice.
Okay,
because-
so now he gets out of practice. Okay, he's out of practice and he said he can attend.
Okay, so I'm.
We're gonna meet there at 6 o'clock. Be at the
I was
restaurant.
able to make some arrangements.
So we're there now, and we're having dinner. And so now I say to him, I'm gonna slide across, pretend that that's a key. So now that we've all nourished ourselves, I got the wine, the champagne's chilling. How about we go upstairs and, kick it for a little bit?
I thought we were discussing my.
Oh, we did.
future.
We want to talk about your future, because your future has a lot of good things. So now we go upstairs
Mhm.
and we get this thing going on. Now I'm his boss. Yes, indeed. It works that way sometimes. Sometimes the boss is not always a male. The boss can be a female. And a female can also do this to a male. So we're upstairs, we're engaging in this process a few times. So now we at work and I say to him, how you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Good, and he's good. I'm good. So you know what I was thinking? I got another promotion for you. Now what if this time he says,
I'm really not interested. You know, I'm kind of happy where I am, and I've got a lot of things going on outside of the workplace, and I really like my rugby, and we play flag football, and you know,
So
golf.
are you
once
trying
in
to
a
tell me
while.
no? Are you trying to tell me no?
Well, no, I just want to let you know I have some other activities. I got to go golfing with Reggie tonight.
Oh, you gonna go? Ooh, Reggie, what is Reggie like? Listen, we can do a duo thing here. Menage a trois, I don't mind. It's all good.
Well, I'm not really sure if
That
Reggie.
is so nice. What does Reggie look like? Get a picture? Is he like you?
No, I don't carry Reggie's picture
You
around
carry his
with me.
picture? Ooh, I can
No,
carry him. But what do you
he's a
got?
good-looking guy.
Oh, he's
that's my
good-looking?
boy. Yeah.
Really he is? Ooh, you know what? Listen, there's nothing wrong with you. I'm good with that as well. You could bring Reggie along.
Well, that might be uncomfortable.
For Reggie and you. Are
Um,
you jealous? Ooh,
no,
sugar.
like I said, that's my boy.
Your boy, you mean what way?
We're running partner.
You're running. Ooh.
We're both part of Divine Nine.
Divine. Ooh, that means, frat. Woo! That's a good thing. I like a frat brother. You can bring the brother with you. It's all good. So there we go and get involved in this type of thing. This happens, people. This is the real world that we living in. You get all type of hostilities. How you feeling right now? Let's pause for the cause. How you feeling right now?
A little overwhelmed.
A little overwhelmed. Why?
Because you just bring it on pretty heavy, right?
Bringing it on. Now, see, if we were really doing this, I would be all closer to him. Slide on over. So and that's the whole thing about the quid pro quo. This is your boss. Now, say he objects to our relationship now. He's saying he wants out. Let's go there.
Yeah, I really am not interested. You know, I really want to be able to do my job and get my promotions on my merit. And I know we've had this thing going on. You know, I'm really not comfortable now. I have a steady girlfriend.
Ooh, a girlfriend. She could be involved too. It's okay.
Well, she's kind of private in that way.
She
So,
private?
yeah.
Well, we're going to be private too, just the three of us.
Well, I'm not really into menage a trois.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, leave her home then.
Well, but that's not comfortable for me.
So you trying to tell me no? No?
Yeah, I am saying no.
You saying no?
I am.
Okay, so let me just tell this to you. I'm going to let you think about this.
Okay.
Because if you think you're going to tell me no after all of this time, and I gave you 2 promotions, so this is how this is going to be. You now is driving a fine car because you're driving a rag when I first met you. Your promotions, obviously, you're liking the pay increase twice. Pay increase twice. And you're living in a fine place. So I'm going to let you think about this for a moment, and we're going to be right back about what you're going to lose by telling me no. We'll be right back. We're going to see what ATM has to say in regards to this relationship that he thinks he's going to quit. See you in a little bit.